Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Joseph Saboter. I'm a senior at the Met High School, and I'm here on behalf of Providence Student Union. Um, yeah. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences with police officers and also just mental health resources at school and things like that. But yeah. So yeah. Uh, so in 1997, about 6 years before I was born, my great grandfather and my great uncle were both killed by a police officer. And it was one single bullet that killed both of them. And that also happened while they were outside of their house across. It was because there was a subway that was being robbed across from their house, and a police officer shot and killed them while they were taking out the trash. And I just say that just to say that there are other students, not just me, but who have these experiences with police officers that just cause generational trauma within them. And I also have heard a lot of counter argument with saying that oh well, students like me need to have SROs because we need to have good experiences with police officers. But that's not the case at all, because in reality, it's not just my family members who've been killed by police officers. It's thousands all over the world, honestly. And I think it just goes to show that it's a systemic problem and it's not something that can be solved interpersonally. Um, I personally don't want to go to school and be in the presence of an SRO. Right now, I am shaking, and it's not just because of the things I'm talking about, but it's just because of having to talk about police officers, having to talk about SROs, and having to fight to feel comfortable in a place that's supposed to be, serving students. And I also just wanted to talk about mental health resources as I go to the Met High School, but I transited from classical high school during my sophomore year. And during classical, I had a lot of issues just with my mental health during that time. It was just for example, I had a lot of absences. I was considered chronically absent my freshman year and in my sophomore year. And there were also assemblies where administrators at classical high school told us where that 60% of our class was chronically absent. So it's just a thing that I experienced with a lot of my peers. But for me in particular, I suffer from anxiety and obsessive-compulsive disorder, and I hadn't received my diagnosis until about my sophomore year, after I was hospitalized for 2 weeks, and only then, after that time of being hospitalized, and just actually being checked up on and having a space where I could, share my experiences with my mental health and things like that. Only after then I was given specific resources at school, like a 504 plan, and things like that. And, I just think that if there were more counselors at schools, if there were more mental health resources, I could have had it a lot easier had, during maybe my first 18 absences where I was chronically absent, I was checked up on by a school counselor. Um, and I think in general, there's just a lot of students who need more mental health resources, and it's something that schools can provide. Um, and also, just in general, about the removal of SROs. There's other school districts around the United States that have already removed SROs, like the Los Angeles Unified School District, or the Denver Public Schools, or San Francisco Unified School District. So it's not something that's completely out of this world. It's not something that's gonna make it unsafe for students, and for students, especially like me, who have these experiences. Who feel the ramifications and have felt it through generations of a racist system. I just think the removal of SROs would really improve my well-being and the well-being of students.